What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agents Weather Forecast. And we're going to be talking about in this video why this April, which is typically the peak of the severe weather season, and we're going to be talking about why it can be very active again. So, obviously, April is pretty far out, so this is a preliminary forecast, really. So, please don't take this 100%. I'm using global models. I'm also using comparing to past years and why everything and just all of that added up is going to kind of be talked about throughout this video. And then at the end of the video, I'll be showing my map of where I think and who can see the worst and most active April for this severe weather based on everything I show in this video, plus the other few things that I as well will look at later on. But before we get in the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and as well like the video if you really enjoyed it and if it was informative, and as well hit the bell icon so you guys can get notified as soon as I do a video. And last but not least, if you guys have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments below and I'll try my best to respond to them. But again, I get a lot of comments in the video, so it's not personal if I don't get to it. But let's go ahead and get to the forecast. First thing I want to take a look at, of course, is the SSTs, as this kind of does have an important effect on the severe weather season specifically, as well. Really watching for the peak, which is April. So we still have a not strong La Nina, but we are having a strengthening La Nina at the moment. We are continuing to get lower values here, but as you see, these temperatures are continuing to drop now. And previously, in my past severe weather forecast, we did see some warmer temperatures trying to develop across the Central Pacific, but now they have disappeared. So we are kind of seeing a strengthening in this La Nina, specifically for Nino 3.4 region, which is where we have the strongest and most well below average temperatures, up to 2 to 3 degrees Celsius below average. And these temperatures are below average all the way from even the Eastern Pacific there, or sorry, Western Pacific, all the way up to the coast of South America. And this La Nina will affect the season. Of course, La Nina seasons are more favorable for active severe weather seasons, as that brings in warm and humid temperatures across the south and portions of as well the eastern United States, while we have the colder air in the west, which is allowing for that instability. So this is not good news for people who don't want any severe weather. However, it is good news for those who like severe weather, but still not a good sign, strengthening La Nina. But let's actually go ahead and take a look at how this La Nina has been reacting and where it is right now status-wise. So as this is actually a look at the 3.4 region, which kind of gives the good idea whether we are sitting at a La Nina or at a neutral or a El Nino. So we've been at a La Nina for quite a while, ever since really November, October is kind of when we got those first totals that brought us La Nina. But right now is really important, as we are seeing a lower value here. So we did see a pretty big increase between early February to, I guess, the past week or so. But ever since the past week, we have been decreasing in values, which means we are getting at a stronger La Nina. So really, anything below negative 1.0 is considered a strong La Nina, in my opinion. And we're getting near there. You see, we're just a little bit over that. So strengthening La Nina is good news for active severe weather seasons, which is something we don't want to see, obviously, especially for those who will be affected the worst, like Dixie Alley and as well portions of the Midwest and Plains. So the latest values is still favoring for a very active season, and that's going to really lead to a very active peak. So we saw, for example, last year we saw La Nina kind of really kicking in early 2020, and that's why we had such a big and active April last year, including the Easter outbreak, and as well quite an active May as well. So this is kind of an example, just the past year, how this will affect the peak. So this right here is going to be potentially a good sign for a very active peak. Specifically, the peak is for April. It's really focused on Dixie Alley, but I'm as well watching even the southern Midwest and even as well portions of the areas like the Carolinas. But let's go ahead and check a look at the comparisons. So this is a look at 2011. Of course, many people are comparing this to 2011, not for clout, not for fame, not for more views, but it's because it's a reality. 2011, I'm not saying I'm not saying we're gonna get as many as many tornadoes or as many big high risk outbreaks. However, I'm saying is this season is going to be well above average, and it's very similar SST wise to 2011. We saw the really cold temperatures across the eastern and central Pacific there. there you got it there. Let me actually go ahead and compare this. So let's go ahead and compare. So here you see, so this is what we're seeing right now. You got those really warm temperatures across the southern Pacific. You guys with really warm temperatures there across the far western Pacific there. And there you see those really warm temperatures across the western Pacific. Really warm temperatures right there in the Indian Ocean. And it's not just that, but we're seeing kind of big similarities like Hawaii, really warm around Hawaii. Specifically the northern part of Hawaii, and there you see really warm temperatures specifically just north of Hawaii. You're getting those really cold temperatures kind of extending out a little bit towards Mexico so far right now. And let's go ahead and check a look at 2011. There you see it's sticking out towards California, but obviously a lot more significant. So it's just a little detail. So obviously, just because we have similar SSTs, because they're both La Ninas, doesn't mean it's going to be the same outcome. But I'm just saying there's those small details that are very, very similar. And we've already seen events that are 2011 like the two PDS tornadoes we saw just last week, or actually, sorry, 2 weeks ago. So again, it's looking very similar, the pattern wise. And 2012 as well, quite an active April. Again, 2011 was an extremely active April, specifically towards the Dixie Alley. So this can help us give us a better idea of where we can expect the worst this year. Same thing happened in 2011. 2011 was kind of more active, kind of towards the Ozarks and portions of Dixie Alley. But you see, 2012 actually looks a little bit more similar to what we're seeing right now. So let's see this year. You see those kind of it's extending across the areas like the Pacific there near Mexico. And there you see it's very, very similar. There you got those really warm temperatures north of Hawaii, and there you got those really warm temperatures north of Hawaii here as well. And those warm temperatures kind of stretch all the way up to the to the western Pacific. What happens here? All the way up to areas in the western Pacific. Really, really warm regions there across the southern Pacific there, as well into areas near the Oceania region. Same thing here. Really warm temperatures in the Oceania region and very warm temperatures across the South Pacific. So again, this isn't a comparison to actually relating it to the actual season. However, it's kind of giving it a little I guess hint to possibly where this peak could be for April, where the location can be. But again, this is the main reason why my maps are the way they are, which you'll see at the end of the video. It takes part in it, but as well, kind of what we've seen so far this year and what global models have to say for between end of March and April. We're gonna really as well determine where this severe weather can really be this month and how active can it be. So something I also want to show. This isn't really showing actually April, but it is showing throughout the whole March. So this is a forecast anomaly for the March, and this is valid as early as last week. So as you see, it's kind of favoring a positive AO, which is kind of, I guess, quote unquote, a La Nina-like pattern across the Western Hemisphere, specifically for the United States. And here you see, this is the NOAA outlook for the month of March. Here you see they have a colder Arctic Circle right here, which is allowing for that warm air to get forced out. And it's going to kind of get forced out towards the east here because you kind of have the strong high pressure in the Arctic Circle right there, kind of having all of that cold air to the edge. And you have all that warm air on the other edge right there, kind of that little cycle right there. And that's going to be allowing for some really warm air across the eastern United States here. And you got the cold air across the western United States. So that's going to mean we're going to have the cold fronts coming from the Arctic Circle there in Alaska and northern Russia and Siberia, and we're going to have that warm air kind of developing across these areas, which is going to allow for a ton of instability across these whole areas here, which is why I'm really worried for this April. Again, I know this says only March, but again, temperature will be a lot warmer in April. So we're going to be seeing some 70s out there, moving to the Ohio Valley, 80s becoming way more widespread, and we're looking at a general really warm March and April this year. So we're looking at very widespread temperatures that can be 10 to 15 degrees above average. That's going to allow for a favorable severe weather and as well a pretty large significant peak, specifically if we have a cold northwest, because that will allow cold fronts to develop, and that's going to be allowing for, I guess, a dry line, and that's going to be really favorable, specifically for Dixie Alley and as well portions of the Great Lakes. And we will see. It's very likely this will continue to carry on up to April, which is why I'm showing this. So, of course, I've already said this quite a few times between my preliminary severe weather forecast, but 2011. This is actually for the month of April. So this is kind of giving us idea really the hotspots for 2011 during the month of April. Obviously Dixie Alley, specifically Mississippi and Alabama there. And that's kind of always the areas for April. So that's obviously nothing surprising, but something really watching for 2011 is that we saw quite significant events all the way up across the Midwest there. And this is April. So we saw a ton of tornadoes across the Midwest in 2011 for April. A ton of tornadoes there across areas of the Ohio Valley, and a ton of tornadoes across the Mid-Atlantic. So we saw a ton of hotspots outside Dixie Alley. Does that mean it's going to happen this year? No, but it's something that we need to really watch out for. So this is going to kind of give us an idea really where we have to watch out for this year, since these seasons are since 2011 of February was very, very similar to this year, with a very slow beginning of the season, or I guess preseason. January and February, it was really dead in January, or it was really dead in those months in 2011, and it absolutely just spiked completely in April. And same thing here. We're below average. We're actually well below average for January so far this year, or this month. So far this year in general, we're so below average. But I'm really worried for April. Not just for Dixie Alley, but I'm actually quite worried as well for areas like North Carolina, not just because of 2011, but just because if that cold air does really become widespread and we're seeing a super duper warm southeast, I'm really worried for the whole southeast in general, and as well, I'm kind of really worried for the whole eastern United States in general. So really gotta watch out. Of course, April is very active, a ton of tornadoes, large hail, gonna definitely be widespread, well outside Dixie Alley, and same thing out there for the wind reports. Another reason why I think we are going to be seeing a very significant April, and this is obviously going to help me get a better idea of where I think the hotspots will be this year at the end of my video with my map, is the events we've already seen so far this year. For example, the February 15th event with the 2 PDS tornadoes, one in Georgia and one in North Carolina. But we saw 4 tornadoes in general. That whole day, which isn't a lot, obviously, but think about it. This is winter. This is dead of winter. February is the coldest month for many people, specifically the eastern United States. Because obviously the coldest air is usually around December or January across the West, but really shocking that we saw this already. 2 PDS tornadoes in the same day. One already being rated an EF3. The other one, I don't think we've gotten the actual rating yet, but 2 PDS tornadoes in general is pretty crazy in one day, but in mid-February, I mean, that's kind of just really kind of showing your mind. I guess it's really showing you what can possibly happen. If this can happen well pre-season, imagine what can happen in the peak in April. I mean, that's what I'm really watching out for. And of course, I showed in the beginning of the video, the beginning and the mid part of February was really kind of getting near almost neutral basically status, and we still saw this happen. So if this the strengthening La Nina continues, I think it's going to really obviously not only affect March, but really affect April, specifically for the eastern United States, of course. Kind of really watching Dixie Alley, these areas as well. Kind of a little really watching out for these areas across the Midwest and portions as well of the Mid-Atlantic. So that's kind of what I'm really watching out for this year. So like I said, I'm going to be showing some global models to kind of give you guys a better look. So this is actually a weekly forecast. This goes 6 weeks out. So obviously it's not going to be 100% reliable. However, it's a lot more reliable than just guessing. So as you see, this is a look. So this is actually a look at March 27th. So there you see that cold air, very similar to what the NOAA Outlook showed. And then you got the really warm air across the eastern United States. So this is going to, in general, this is the last week of March. Now, I'm really thinking end of March and much of April is going to be very active, actually. So they have the cold air moving in. That's going to bring in quite a ton of instability across this whole area, because we're going to be seeing kind of some cold air kind of possibly mixed again in that general region. So a really warm eastern United States and a cold west is perfect for severe weather when it comes to the eastern United States, especially if you're talking about April, because that's kind of when temperatures are really getting warmer. We're going to start getting a ton of Gulf moisture, and then by May it's going to be even worse across the Midwest. But again, we're really watching for April at this point in this video. And then the first week of April, you see that cold air continue to stick around the western United States and that really warm rest of the United States here. So really warm temperatures, very good, higher cave valleys, more hillicity, better chance for storms to develop. Again, instability, it should be there with the cold air, and just because just because it shows the cold air is going to just stick all the way only in the Pacific Northwest doesn't mean this cold air can't reach into the plains, because that will be a big no-no for the Southeast, basically. But this is all the way up to April 10th, so we still got a whole 20 days after to look at this. But here's another model we're looking at. So this is showing this cold air going a lot deeper, actually, down to Wyoming there, moving to Colorado. So that's going to leave us some bigger chances. You see really, really warm temperatures across the southeast and Dixie Valley, and really, really cold temperatures across the Pacific Northwest. Really rising concerns for this whole area at this point, if that actually occurs. So not just Dixie Valley, but Ohio Valley, the Ozarks, and even portions of the Midwest there. And this is now getting to April 3rd, so it's in that cold air, really warm in the eastern United States, so really something quite alarming. Same thing we're really going to be watching as well for the temperature anomaly. Sorry, not temperature anomaly, this is precipitation anomaly, but you can kind of see it's going to be seeing some above average precipitation across portions of, I guess, far northern Dixie Valley, like Alabama, Georgia there, almost average to slightly above average, and then well above average, actually, across portions of the Great Lakes. It's kind of why I think this could be more than just that's why I think this can be more than just a Dixie Valley season for April. Obviously, it'll be very widespread throughout the whole year, but I'm talking about April specifically. I think we can be seeing a 2011 like April, where storms are developing all around the eastern United States. You got a pocket there in Iowa, you got a pocket there in the Great Lakes, a pocket there in the areas of portions of the the Mid-Atlantic. So definitely gotta really watch out there, and all the way up to areas now into getting later into April. You can kind of see really watching for these areas to be above average precipitation. But again, if this does move any more south, really alarming for portions of the southeast. And something as well really important and extremely important actually for severe weather is the shear. So you can kind of see this shear is going to be absolutely crazy across portions of the eastern United States for the next few weeks here. So obviously this does not go as far as April. However, if this continues, if this is like this all the way from February 27th to March 15th, I think there's a good chance this can continue to be a big threat all the way up into April. So the more shear, the better, and it's looking very good for shear across the eastern and almost the whole United States in general. So that's going to take a part of my decision there. So this is a look at where I think we can have the worst severe weather, and based on layers. The deeper the layer you are, the more active I think you guys can be. Of course, guys, this will change once we get a lot near to April. So please do not take this 100%. Again, obviously, I can put a lot more areas in red if I could, but again, I just really don't want to overreact it at this point when it's this far out. So I'm kind of keeping it a little bit more limited at this point. So obviously, you kind of know Chicago's out of the red, Omaha out of the red, Detroit out of the red, other Midwestern cities out of the red. So again, this will most likely change a lot. However, again, it's still a preliminary forecast. We are still a whole month just from the first day of April, and we still got a whole month of April left. So again, don't take this 100%. I will have another April video out further into March. But in the light red, if you're in the light red, I think you guys can see a fairly active severe weather season. However, I don't see significant tornadoes there, or I don't see frequent and consistent severe weather throughout the whole month of April. So if you're in the light red, I think there will be a few severe weather events, but they won't be like extremely significant or extremely dangerous or life-threatening. However, just because you got into the light red doesn't mean there won't be tornadoes that will obviously be deadly. It's just that the confidence for consistency of extreme severe weather and a very significant severe weather will be limited. Because in that second shade of red, that very dark red, almost brown color, that's where I think we can get some more consistency and more severe weather events throughout the whole month of April. So that's where I think we can really watch out for more tornadoes, a lot more significant hail events, a larger hail as well, and more tornadoes in general is likely. In the purple, we're getting a little bit more consistency. So if you're in the purple, the third shade, that's where you can possibly see a few, maybe a good enhanced risk, maybe a moderate in these areas. Again, it's still processing, is still about a month away. So enhanced risk definitely is likely if you're in the purple throughout the month of April. Moderate, we'll see. Again, it's moderate still out. It's not out of the picture, but again, moderate. It's you can't really guarantee a moderate, but I think enhancers is definitely likely from the purple color. Severe weather will be very consistent. Some significant systems, tornadoes and severe weather events are likely. But once we get over the pink color, so that fourth shade of just outside the white color, that pink, that's where I think we can possibly see definitely a moderate risk in these areas at least once throughout the month of April. Really watching out for potential dangerous tornadoes in these areas, potentially very consistent severe weather, multiple significant events. And if you're in the white, I think you guys can be the bullseye for this spring this year, or not, sorry, not spring, bullseye for April. So Alabama, Mississippi, those areas I'm really watching out for, where we may see some very consistent severe weather, very dangerous, and as well big tornado outbreaks in these areas. So definitely gonna watch out for in these areas. And I don't see you guys getting out of the white for my next forecast for April once we get into March, really. So I think that is where I think I'm really confident in for Alabama, Mississippi, far western Georgia, and far eastern Arkansas and Louisiana. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye guys.